Okay, so the question I was asked is, what is ecstatic radiance? Okay, so this is something that happens to people at a certain stage as they practice yoga. As we practice yoga, as we're practicing meditation, pranayama, samyama, the nadis, the energy channels of the body are being purified, the chakras are being purified, stronger flows of prana begin moving through the channels and through the chakras. And when the flows of prana become strong, the subtle nervous system actually starts radiating ecstasy. It starts radiating ecstasy out into the room. And this ecstatic radiance can actually change the bodies of people around, not the physical body, but their subtle nervous system, their subtle body. So this means that if you're in the presence of a very experienced practitioner of yoga, you can actually feel it, or some people can actually feel it. Whether we can feel it or not depends on our own subtle nervous system and how sensitive that is. So just because someone's radiating ecstasy doesn't mean that everyone around them will notice. It might be that just some people notice, or maybe nobody notices. So, but the ecstatic radiance will still be there. It'll still be happening. And the purification effect will still be happening. So when I say that when one person's subtle body is radiating ecstasy, that changes the subtle bodies of the people around, it actually purifies them. It actually has a purifying effect. Sometimes that purifying effect can be too strong. There were times when I used to be with my teacher in India, and I could only spend a certain amount of time in the same room as her. Even if she wasn't teaching, even if she was just going about her general activities, it would start to be too much. The radiance that came from her body, which was felt as ecstasy and as love in my body, that could become too strong and I'd have to leave the room. There was even one time when I had to leave the ashram because the radiance was too strong from her body. So that's what ecstatic radiance is. It's a very beautiful thing. Usually it's not like that. Usually it's not too strong, and it simply benefits people around and is uplifting for them. This is actually quite an incredible aspect of the human race, and it has quite serious implications for how we're developing as a species. Because without ecstatic radiance, we can share things with each other, we can tell each other things that are helpful, we can uplift each other emotionally, we can do things for each other, physical things, but we're essentially sort of islands to ourselves. But once ecstatic radiance comes into play, that changes. Simply being in the same room as someone will be uplifting for them and will be purifying for them and will transform them on an energetic level and will enhance their spiritual progress. And so we start doing that for each other. As each person becomes increasingly purified, they're helping the people around them without doing anything, just by being in the same room or even being in the next room. This ecstatic radiance works through walls. That's why I had to leave the ashram. Couldn't just go to another room when it became too strong with my own teacher. So we uplift each other even through the walls of houses. And so this has enormous consequences for the rate of human spiritual transformation. Yeah, if it wasn't for ecstatic radiance, everyone would have to do the work on their own. Yeah, someone would only progress according to the work that they were doing themselves. Once ecstatic radiance comes into play, we're helping lift each other up. We're literally helping to enlighten each other through our own practice. Yeah, so this is an absolutely extraordinary thing, and it's happening more and more. People are coming to me and saying, their Kundalini awoke, and it awoke because they met an amazing person. They formed a relationship with an amazing person. That person was radiating ecstasy, and that woke their own Kundalini, and now they're going through a energetic spiritual transformation. And so, this is ecstatic radiance, absolutely incredible thing, absolutely beautiful. I would never have believed that it could be true or possible if I hadn't been able to experience it myself. And it isn't actually just people that radiate ecstasy, but places radiate ecstasy, especially places that have had a lot of people meditating in them or praying in them. The places become charged with the ecstasy of the people that have been there, engaging in spiritual practices. So churches, temples, mosques, ashrams, synagogues, these places become charged with spiritual energy and then radiate ecstasy. And it can even be felt outside the church, outside the temple, outside the mosque or synagogue. There have been times when I've been maybe 50 yards away from a spiritual building and I could feel the spiritual building. And there's also places in the world that have this ecstatic radiance. Some mountains, some holy places, some holy wells also hold this capacity to radiate ecstasy, and we can feel it when we go to those places, or if we're sensitive, we can feel it when we go to those places. So an absolutely amazing aspect of humans